What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Roo.
Welcome to Couch in the Roo, presented by Skymint Premium Cannabis, inspiring all of us to feel better, look better, love better, and just do better every damn day of our lives. And our Monday afternoon show, presented by our friends at Muskox Quality Flannels. Father's Day is just around the corner. Get Dad the gift that shows you care. Unmatched quality and comfort at Muskox. Visit gomuskox.com for their latest offerings, including their spring and summer flannels. Lighter, still the great comfort and quality, but can be worn around the campfire all summer long. And, of course, at gomuskox.com, you can use the promo code CAW15 for $15 off your flannel selection. Jason, how you doing, brother?
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I just want everyone to know how much I love this show. They know that I love this show because I'm missing the Chad Latz extravaganza, the Hot Latz East Lansing, Hot Summer Latz Lansing, whatever he calls it. He's having a thing at Crunchies, and I'm like, I felt bad because he's like by himself taking pictures with waitresses and shit. I'm like, I should have swung by. I didn't know.
I saw something on Twitter. I never know what's real and what's not and what's happening. And
believe me, you don't want to know. It's definitely Latz is definitely a puzzle. Trying to figure him out sometimes. But.
That's a great way, a great word, a kind word, I would say also.
This is what I see. Everybody stops and they're staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it. Show it. Show it.
All right, there we go.
A puzzle, for sure.
Yeah, can't miss the show for that though.
No. So we're going to dig into our hot takes and yours. First, man, happy anniversary, you and Therese.
Yeah, yesterday. 1 year. I was going to say I survived, but I think Therese survived. So, can I hear myself?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're good.
All right, we're good. Yeah, so it was fun yesterday. Did a little golfing. So
nice.
Yeah, just kind of hung out.
I
didn't do much because it's, first year. What are you supposed to do? We were in Mexico last year. We got a lot going on this summer. So we were just like, let's just lay back and have a good day. And
you can overdo it.
Yeah.
You really want to leave it with a good vibe. I remember there have been a couple anniversaries where, and because we got married the last weekend before football season, I often think we get there that weekend. I'm like, I got to do something. I got to take us out of town.
Right.
And a lot of times Elizabeth's just like, I just want to be here and hang out.
Those are some of the best times, though, is
yeah.
when you just don't have any, there's no obligation. You can sit. If you want to do some yard work, you can. We just lounge, and then we went golfing at Hawk Hollow, which will kind of lead into my first take, I guess, if you want me to start.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Tigers gambling related.
It is time for the Detroit Tigers gambling update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
So we're golfing yesterday, and Hawk Hollow is it's a nicer course, so they have like a starter at the first hole, right? And you have to check in, and the gentleman asked my name. I'm like, all right, Jason Nick, and he goes, you still got that podcast? And I was like, yeah. So then we started talking about the Tigers and Michigan State football and all that stuff. And I golfed at Hawk Hollow with my father-in-law like a month ago. And I'm like, why? It always happens to me where it's like, it would have been so great if that guy would have remembered the podcast and my name in front of the father-in-law. Because Therese, of course she's impressed, but she's my wife. She's going to be impressed. So it's not really that big of a deal anymore. But it was just funny because he's just like, you still got that podcast? There was no like, oh man, I loved when you guys did that thing. It's just, you still got that podcast.
I don't know. I don't think he's a regular listener if he's asking if we still have the pod.
But he recognized my name from.
No, it's cool.
Beforehand, which is not a big deal, but it just makes me laugh because it's like with every ex-girlfriend or something you see, or if you see someone you haven't seen in a while, and you look like shit, or I'm 20 pounds heavier, I look disheveled, my hair, I haven't got my hair cut, or something like that. It always happens to me, but when I'm feeling good about myself and all that stuff,
you never run into that person. But yeah, no, the father-in-law who you've tried to impress many times, sometimes not unsuccessfully, from what
and here's what happened. So then I tell Therese that, and there's a little Skymint going on in the golf course, And so she, all of a sudden, in a group text, tells what happened to the family member, to the in-laws. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Now you're less
now
cool.
she's being right. Now she's being nice. She's doing that. But I'm like, it doesn't mean the same, dear. So I was like, oh, no. But anyway, it was a beautiful day. Thanks for asking. But anyway, as far as the Tigers here, Phillies, 3-game little road thing here in Philadelphia until they're back home against the Diamondbacks. I don't know. Lang gave up that grand slam last night. The momentum with injuries, Graham, I don't know. The Phillies, I don't know. The Phillies are decent at home. They're not a great ball club, but the NL East is tough. I mean, could we maybe a 3-game little series here and see a sweep by the Phillies? Make some money.
I think we're back on the Tigers bet. I think you're right here. I think that the opportunity is great, and I feel bad because if Riley Green doesn't get hurt, just that simple piece, I think, changes their lineup enough that because you can be this gritty, competitive team, and I think they are that, but eventually if you don't have the horses, you get worn down, and it just the avalanche comes and hits you, and there's certain teams you can't compete with, and the Riley Green difference is that difference to me in that lineup, and it's.
But is he that big of a difference? I just think if you get Scope and Miggy, like I honestly love Miggy, but I can't wait till this season's over and the Miggy experience is over. It's sad. I don't enjoy watching it. Hinch has him hitting spots where he should definitely take him out, and I don't think he wants to so we're basically catering towards Miggy to make sure he doesn't get pissed off or something. I don't know, but it's depressing to watch some of those guys hit.
Their lineup is so bad. I've been taking the under and the other team recently.
Smart.
And I think some days you wind up just hedging yourself by doing that. Rarely do you lose both bets. Occasionally you will, but more often than not, I think right now if you take the under, not just the team under, but the under, and the Tiger, the other, and the opponent, and again anything with too much juice, I always say, anything over minus 150 on the run line or on the money line, take the run line. But whatever feels best for your vibe. I think we're back on the Tigers bet. It sucks because I think the Tigers, if they had stayed healthy, had a chance to be a team that was flirting with 500 deep into July in a horrible division, and it would have been kind of fun to follow.
So they have,
and that's not going to be who they are anymore.
So after the Phillies, they come back for a nice little homestand with the Diamondbacks and Braves. So I think we just take it by series, right?
Absolutely.
We check out and see what they do against the Phillies because Zach Gallen, if he pitches against the Tigers with the Diamondbacks, I mean, he's unbelievable. So Tigers aren't going to hit him, but I just figure, like we mentioned the last show we did, I mean, I still think this team is ass, and we can make some money on it due to injuries.
Yeah.
Because they really have nothing else. I mean, what else are they going to do?
No, it sucks. It's too bad because
Eduardo's out. I mean,
they could have been okay, and that's not going to be their reality this year. And I do believe one hitter in the lineup who's legit. I've learned this in co-ed softball. It makes a huge difference. It just peters.
It all comes back to co-ed softball.
It peters down.
Yeah.
All right, my first hot take. So after the show, or late in the show, but we didn't see it on Friday when we were doing our Groovy Donut Twitter questions. The news came out about Matt Ishbia's NIL deal with Michigan State through United Wholesale Mortgage, no longer being a thing. You could sort of saw this potentially coming and figured it would at some point because he had bought the Phoenix Suns and the Mercury, and you can't have a deal you can't be an owner of an NBA basketball team and paying student athletes in college basketball. You just can't. Otherwise,
why not?
Well, there's a fair argument.
Is it just a rule that we just adhere to because it sounds like that's the way it should be? I mean, I don't understand what NIL money would have to do with him owning the Suns.
It's something. Well, you can't have NBA teams paying college players. I mean, I guess you could. You could argue you should, but you can't right now. That's legit. So
but
either
it's one
way,
of those things, but we can't explain why. You shouldn't
do
it.
A lot of what used to be right and wrong, and we had these firm rules like this guy was cheating. You see him driving around campus in that car. Like all that's gone now. It's all the shit.
Some in here having a half a Jimmy John sandwich or something. They were worried about a violation.
All the stuff we cared about for decades, stupidly, we don't anymore. But part of it wasn't stupid in the sense that you want a fair playing field. It was just stupid in the sense that it was dumb that was considered cheating to some degree.
Right.
But so I think there was a lot of panic out there that this was looking like a real ding towards Michigan State's NIL hopes, towards the recruiting. Some people, I think, weren't as concerned. Either way, I don't think people should be concerned by it. It's not helpful, but it's not something that you can't replace this. Michigan State has other donors. They have other major benefactors. Go out and get somebody else if you think this part of things was important, the $700 a month to certain programs, men's basketball, football, women's volleyball, that if you think that was an important recruiting tool, then go out and replace it. But this is not like Matt Ishbia is gone from the NIL space. From what I understand, his money is still heavily involved in the funds that are paying the basketball roster, the key guys on the football team, and I don't think that's going to change. He personally is going to continue to donate through, the whatever is in place, be it SDL4L or the collective that they're going to maybe start push. The money is going to be there, partly from Ishbia, that is going to help fund this stuff. His money is not going away at a greater level.
How confusing!
It is confusing as shit.
Does it really matter in the end? I mean, he's still donating money.
Well, but
it's allocated. Who cares?
But the thing is, what people don't really realize is like Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins. These guys are all doing real well. They're doing real well, way more than $700 a month from UWM, and where they're doing real well has a lot to do with Matt Ishbia, and so that to me is something that I think needs to be sort of understood. It's one of those things that, in terms of writing it, and it's been hard to do in terms of the exact numbers, because those numbers aren't things that can be shared. And so I hear the numbers, or I hear certain numbers, and I think I know them, but I don't know them at a level that I feel comfortable sharing here. But Ishbia is not going to stop being part of things and part of Michigan State's answer to competing in the NIL space. That is not going to go away.
But I can see how people were confused when Solari did tweet that out, and I'm just like, so is that good or bad or what's?
Well, no, we missed it. I mean, the Detroit News and M Live had it even first, but we were doing the show and not,
Well, either way, I'm just saying the headline. I'm just like, definitely one of those things you need to read so you can go, oh, okay, so it's just has to do with some dumb NBA rule, or is it an NCAA rule?
Another piece of advice:
really be them.
Always read the story. Sometimes the headline.
At least skim it.
At least get the sense of it, right? So anyway, I just think that's an important thing to know. MSU also won a big award for its NIL efforts over the weekend. Now this is sort of within the space of other schools and NIL and all this stuff, and they won the award for being on the front end of a lot of stuff with their Evergreen program and doing things, it seems, on the up and up the right way, and that should be something that I think people are proud of. The problem is what really wins in college football now, where you see the impact of NIL, perhaps in terms of recruiting, is at a different level and maybe not as much and what it was intended to be. And so those are philosophical questions I think people will continue to debate. Do you want – I mean, MSU has been a stickler to trying to do things to some degree the right way in terms of not pay for play on the front end with the recruits. That said, the basketball team is all doing real well. And they're doing real well based on things they've done at MSU, and that is essentially, to some degree, pay for play itself. It's not like MSU is above this. But what they haven't done is got into the recruiting space with collectives the way some other places done. But if that's the way it's going to be, MSU is going to have to be there too. If that's what it's going to take to compete over time, we'll see whether that's a sustainable model. What is your second hot take?
On Friday night, this one blows my mind, the scheduling between the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Because Friday night, nice night, kind of hanging out, want to watch something. I'm like, oh, the Stanley Cup Finals have to be on. Because I know the NBA Finals, they take 3 days off in between games, and at this point of the year, you kind of want it to be prolonged. But really, should there ever be a night, either the Stanley Cup or the NBA Finals isn't on, especially on a Friday? What is going on here?
You'd think they would just go back and forth. They would time it so one or the other.
Is the NHL the one dropping the ball? Like, I understand you have to schedule these things a certain amount of time in advance, but, I mean, come on here. What are we doing?
Yeah, I do think that I
mean, it's not. We're not catering to any television schedule. It's got to be
no.
leagues.
But
right?
if you're the NHL, you can't just maybe you can. I don't know. If I were the NHL, I would make sure I was the other night that the NBA wasn't on. But they were Saturday night, right? They were on the other night. I mean,
they were. But
it was 2 nights in between. So what? I mean, so is that the NBA's fault for taking 2 days off? Like, I don't understand how that's the NHL's fault then.
I think it must be the NHL's fault if they don't. When was the game prior? I don't understand. I don't know. But I mean, I just felt that there should be some sort of Stanley Cup or NBA Finals on a Friday night. It's just ridiculous.
I'm with you to some degree. Like, so they hold on. Let me pull this up. Give me some hot for 1 second. Okay.
Peacock.
So that was game 1 on Saturday. And so you could have done it Friday, but then there's nothing on Saturday.
Okay.
And so game 2 is tonight between the Panthers and Golden Knights, and they don't seem to have any. And then it's Thursday. They seem to have it down now. It was just that one. Well, it's not the NHL's fault. What ultimately happened was the NBA had the 2 days in between. Now you've got the you've got the situation where the NHL is pretty much alternating with the NBA. They're doing that. They're avoiding it. Look, this is a time of year where there's just not something all the time. I was annoyed that like the CONCACAF final between Lyon and LAFC was on last night during the finals. Like, I get that soccer is different. I get that that's a different audience to some degree, but fuck, man, that's on a Sunday night on Fox Sports 1. Like, have that on a night that's not against the NBA Finals. Grow your audience. That's a good game. It's an interesting matchup.
But people are going to watch that soccer game no matter what. If the NBA Finals,
if they're soccer
on,
people,
right? And they have
right. But I'm saying grow your audience. You might run into some people like you, probably not you, but people like you who are more open-minded, who are desperate for something. If you're on a night when the NBA now, and obviously these things get set way in advance for them, and then the NBA Finals come along and say, but the NBA Finals are set pretty well in advance. I just would be more attuned to that. You have
3 monitors or TVs or whatever you call those things. I mean, we have 2 TVs, so if there were 2 things on, I don't mind if 2 things are on at the same time.
Just be more aware of where you are in the pecking order, and don't be afraid of that if you're soccer in this country or this hemisphere. Yeah. All right, my second hot take. Mark D'Antonio is on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot. Also, Michigan State's Flozell, the Hotel Adams, is on the ballot. And so is Darryl Rogers, the former coach, also coached the Lions. I was at Darryl Rogers' final game coaching the Lions in November of 1988. It was, not a 25,000 people at the Silverdome to watch them play the Bucks. It was something else before Wayne Fontes started the next week and his glory era started. But Mark D'Antonio 100% deserves to be in the College Football Hall of Fame, and this ought to be a surefire first time on the ballot you're in deal. Anything else would be ridiculous, because if you look at, so few people have done what D'Antonio did at MSU, and I know it didn't end amazingly, but what he did was he took a program that had been tripping on itself and struggling to pull itself out of the middle of the pack for a long, long time, and he elevated it to a place that's sort of the dream. He created the expectations that exist now in a lot of ways. The possibilities that exist now, and he won over a 6-year period at a level that I don't know that MSU will ever duplicate. And he did. I mean, he didn't do what Izzo did over 25 years. But in the football realm, there are places that have done it a little bit more that came, like Clemson did it a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, out of a similar fog. Oregon has had its run. But there have not been many places that have come out of places like Michigan State, not many runs that have happened out of places like Michigan State, and it has been as high a level or sustained as what Mark D'Antonio did. And I think it would be more appreciated nationally had it come entirely in the college football era. So if 2010, the first year they won a share of the Big Ten title, had been 2014, if everything gets moved back 4 years, and then there's multiple playoff berths, and potentially that team, that Rose Bowl team, would have had a real chance to win it, I think. Or if it had happened in the 12-team playoff era, when I think that team that ultimately in 2014 lost lost to Ohio State and won the first Cotton Bowl they played in, that team would have been an interesting team in that playoff. But you would have had multiple playoff berths in the top 12, and I think his whole tenure nationally would be seen different. It would have, and so first of all, that creates possibilities down the road for places like Michigan State. But what D'Antonio did at MSU is just so hard to do, so rare. And I think the further and further...
Did he do it for long enough? I could see him in the Michigan State Hall of Fame, obviously, but when you talk about college football Hall of Fame...
Fuck, if Darrell Rogers is on the list. I mean, I know Rogers had some good runs at Michigan State and Arizona State, and he was innovative in a lot of ways. Flozell, the Hotel Adams, great offensive lineman, second-round pick on, mediocre teams. A
lot of people get into the college football Hall of Fame.
They do. D'Antonio ought to be in, without question. What is your third hot take?
It's kind of weak, but it involves golf. And Victor Hovland yesterday won at Memorial, and 4 hours later, I don't know if I'd be this good of a friend, Grant, but his college roommate was playing in a 36-hole tournament, so he's going to caddy for him. And this isn't like golf cart stuff where you put it in a golf cart. He actually has to carry. He just won $3 million yesterday. I mean, how good of a friend are you? I mean, I know it was like 25 minutes away from where the Memorial was held, but still, man. 30-minute drive.
Counterpoint would be that you actually feel, but you just won the $3 million. You're just walking around on clouds. It's like, fuck it, man. Whatever. Put this bag on me. Nothing can weigh me down.
And Hovland's good. I mean, I think he's won before on the PGA Tour, but you know what I mean? I mean, that's $3 billion. The next thing you know, you're carrying a bag in some weird tournament, I guess. I guess I would do it. I would say that I would do it, but in reality, as I'm on a private jet going home, I'd be like, man, did I really just do that? But anyway, Victor Hovland's a good friend.
Third hot take. The thing I like most about the Pistons' hire of Monty Williams, their next head coach, is not just that Monty Williams is a respected name in the NBA circles. He brings some cachet, certainly. Things that Dwayne Casey probably didn't. He has a presence to him. And for a market and team that's been struggling to gain any sort of attention, and I think that helps. But ultimately what matters is whether you win or not. And I think one of the things that helps winning when you have a young group is stability and growing together. And they gave Dwayne Casey like 5 years. They gave him plenty of time, 6 years, whatever it was. The length of Monty Williams' deal and the money tells me they're committed. The fact that they gave Dwayne Casey the time. When you look at the successful teams right now around the NBA, Denver, Golden State, what Miami's doing. Look at the length of time coaches are places. It makes us teams that are too quick to move on from guys are always juggling the coaching situation. You just don't have anything that carries over. And I love that they are at least committed to a guy who I think will have some cachet among the players. I think he'll be somebody that, because often in the NBA, if the coach is some first-time assistant who you're not sure he's going to be around, the player has the power. I don't know that any player on the team, other than maybe Cade Cunningham, has more power than Monty Williams will among the roster. And I think that's important in the NBA. So I think Monty Williams is a good coach. I don't know that he's a great coach, but I love that they've committed to him.
But listen to what you just said. They just paid him $78 million. I don't know if he's a great coach. I mean,
I don't know if there was a better coach to go get, though.
I understand. And I understand the money thing. It doesn't matter against the cap. It's Gore's money, Tom Gore's money. I don't care about that. But it just was sticker shock because of all of the coaches, 5 out of the last 6 years, other than Kerr, the guys that won the NBA Finals are fired by the time next year runs around. So I just was like, does coaching really matter? But you watched the game last night, Mike Malone and Spoelstra. Now, can Monty Williams coach with those guys? That's what I don't know.
That's a good question.
Spoelstra is unbelievable.
And I think it matters more on the rise that you have continuity than it does once you got top guys at the top.
Yeah.
So if the Pistons were a contender year in and year out and they have a year where they feel like they've hit a wall and they need a new voice or whatever, that's a different argument. Right now, when you're trying to get a group of young guys to take the next step together and sort of make that move, I think it.
As long as the players like him and maybe a possible free agent or something that would want to come to Detroit. If he makes people want to come to Detroit, then absolutely, why not?
No, 100%. Let's 147%, I should say. All right, let's dig into our listeners' hot takes.
All right, Eric Schultz up first. Graham, I've been going to MSU home games since I was 5. Haven't missed one since I was 10. Spartan Stadium is a special place to me as any in the world. So trust me when I say this. Your I like peeing in troughs because of the nostalgia take is one of your worst.
Thank you, Eric.
I think Eric's right. It is definitely on the Mount Rushmore of your shit takes.
Boy, and I've had some.
Right.
Yeah, but we all have our nostalgia and our preference. I don't shit on what other people like. Actually, sometimes I do. But like
Yeah, but you're peeing next to other dudes with no barrier. So it's kind of weird that you would actually.
Here's
it's
what it
okay
is.
to watch whatever show, Ted Lasso. That's okay if that's what you enjoy. But being in a trough with your dong out next to a dude that's probably about 6 inches away.
Okay. But here's the thing. I like stadiums, right? And I have a nostalgia towards stadiums. And like, you know when you went to the old Tiger Stadium as a kid and you walked up that tunnel and you saw the grass so green that it hurt. Like it was that amazing, right? Just the field. And I just have, like when I was growing up, I was like, if I'm not covering games or able to go, I'll be an usher, whatever it is. I want to be at games. I love arenas. I love stadiums, especially. I love stadiums with.
But there was the green grass. But then when your dad took you to the bathroom, it was terrifying because your eye level and there's dudes peeing in a bathtub.
But that was
like,
just,
what is this shit?
But when you're like 8, that's just part of the experience. Like this is what they have here, troughs. So you grow to love whatever the experience is. Whatever's creating this great experience, the troughs are part of it, and that's why I like the troughs. And I do think it helps get more people in at once. But that's beside the point. I think it has much more to do with my love of stadiums, and this is what happened to be at stadiums when I was 8. And so I'm going to stand by my shit take.
All right. Kirk Wisniewski next. Number 1, I don't mind being on Peacock for the Washington MSU game. This will be the largest sports game for the app and will set a record. 2, MSU football and basketball will finish in the top 15 nationally this year. And 3, Tigers will still hit the under 69 wins. Have faith.
So I'm torn on the Tigers thing because I have an over bet 69 wins, but now I need to bet against them. They've already cost me enough money betting against them that I'm
betting against yourself.
Yeah, I'm just in a mess of a state because I really want them to do well, and I was actually all in for a minute when they were.
Oh my God! When we first heard the number 70 over under, you were like, "I'm in over."
I was
like quick. That's why I was like, "Really? All right."
Yeah, and I put a little on it, but I do think, but I was all in even on the season as it developed, and I had lost. We lost the Tigers bet for a while, and it was like, okay, they're going to be competitive. I'm in. Let's enjoy this. And there were times where the Tigers were a good bet. The market had not caught up with them. They were playing well enough that they were still constant underdogs, and they were winning more than 50% of the time on those games. Just not who they are.
And like
now.
You said, if you have a gut feel and a strong feel like that, you have to put a little money on it because if it ends up happening and the Tigers were actually winning maybe 85 games this year, you're like, man, you're going to tell everyone I should have bet. So at least you sprinkle a little bit.
So I'm going to jump on the number 1 here too. It doesn't mind the game being on Peacock for the MSU Washington game because it'll be the largest sports game for the app and will set a record. I mean, the reason they do this and they have every team in different games on the app is to get people to subscribe in different fan bases. I don't know that it'll do better than the top Premier League games that have been on that app but it will draw an audience. It'll draw Michigan State, Washington fans. It'll draw beyond that, depending on what else is in that time slot. It's at 5:30 p.m. on that Saturday, I think. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me see if I can figure something out. Hold on.
Show it. I'm sexy and I know it.
Come on.
I'm sexy and I know it. Come on, get up, get into it, guys. Come on, check it out. Here's my favorite part. Wiggle, 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 yeah. 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 Do the wiggle, man. I do the wiggle, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sexy and I know it.
Okay, I'm having trouble finding exactly what I was looking for here because I was trying to figure out who else was in that window. Oh, hold on. I may have found a better site.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what I see.
No.
Everybody stops and they're staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it. Show it, show it, show it. I'm sexy and I know it.
All right, so Michigan State's the 5 o'clock game on Peacock. When you look at other games that will be going in that window, there is nothing that is Alabama, South Florida's at 3:30, at Minnesota, North Carolina. So Alabama, South Florida's on ABC. That's, there's nothing. Okay, let's see what's late in that window. 7 o'clock, the night games that night. Tennessee at Florida on ESPN will start in the second half of Michigan State. That's the best game. But you're right. There isn't a ton out there. Washington, Michigan State will be intriguing. It's its own time when it starts. I do think it'll do well for that app. But it, again, won't be something people flip to when they're just flipping around the games if they're not on the app as much. And that's why, I also think this is a year for Michigan State where you may not want to be on the radar a ton. That said, that could, if that winds up being some win that really generates some juice about this Michigan State team, it will have fewer eyeballs than it would have.
Jay Riemenschneider next. Number one, that you've got to give Mel Tucker until 2025 is a cop-out. And if he goes 6 or 7 wins in the next 2 years and MSU's recruiting rankings still in the mid-20s, then you're admitting what Jason doesn't want to hear, that MSU is not a big boy program. This has nothing to do with Tuck's money. MSU as a program shouldn't accept that. 2, you referenced an article saying 67% of college kids gamble, and I'm in agreement with you that is way too high. The average person isn't a degenerate like you two. Well, yeah. 3, Mickey York of Bally Sports and Rocco Spindler of Notre Dame frequent my place of business, and we are a part responsible for Bryce Behringer's incredible punting abilities.
Interesting. I'm curious about your place of business. If that's a lot of,
you want to sponsor the show, or
yeah, yeah. On the gambling thing, what they mean by people who bet, it's have placed a bet. It's not like people
like
who are placing a week. Well, who maybe
then the number's low, right?
I don't know.
One bet, does one bet count?
67%. Like nobody in my wife's circle, none of her friends have ever placed a bet on a you know what I mean? There's a whole group of people who just don't give a shit about
23%.
Sports. But there's a whole group of people who don't care about sports. The idea that they would be betting on sports is I don't know. It's a weird number to think that high of college students are gambling. Let's do number one though here with Jay. The idea that you got to give Mel Tucker into the 2025 is a cop out, and we go 6 or 7 in the next 2 years, and MSU's recruiting rankings are still in the mid-20s. That they're not a big boy program. You can say it's a cop-out, but I think it's just reality. I mean, again, you have to be fair to a coach, and you have to give them until year 4. I still remember reading the Lansing State Journal. I wasn't there, but going into D'Antonio's year 4, which was 2010, and it was like, this is the year. Like this, it should happen. And 2025 for Mel Tucker, in terms of his own recruiting classes because of the pandemic and when D'Antonio retired, that is year 4. Nothing else is year 4. And you can say there are different things with the transfer portal and all that. In terms of if you want to be fair to the guy, 2025 is year 4. That's what it is. And so to me, yeah, if you don't see recruiting classes that do well, now whether they're ranked, I don't know. I mean, obviously if they're in the mid-20s, they're going to have to overachieve to get the program where it wants to go. But to me, it is. Year 4 is to be fair to the guy. I'm willing to give him that much time because I think you have to be fair to a coach. The problem is we live in this cycle now where we don't take a break from thinking about it and talking about it, and thankfully for the show we don't. And so people go through ebbs and flows of emotion throughout the year. You just need the season to get there and let it happen. And 2024, I do think 2024 is the first year that ought to start to look like something. I'm not saying you wait till 2025 and all of a sudden you go from 6-6 to Ohio State level. That's not going to happen overnight. You ought to start to see it in 2024. But the first year that it's fair to expect them to be on par with the best is 2025.
Matt Venny next. Number one, people need to lay off Mel Tucker. If he was as visible as last year, people would be complaining that he should be out recruiting or staying in-house, developing his players, coming off a 5-7 season. 2, NIL deals should come with buyouts. If a player transfers, then they should be required to return all the money and luxury items they receive through NIL, or their new school should reimburse the former school. Businesses have the right to protect their assets. 3, while I'm 147% against segregation, people with young kids should have their own movie theaters, restaurants, and airplanes.
I think you'd be for that, right?
I'm in.
Yeah.
When I hear adult only, it's the best sound of all time.
Yeah, no,
like Vegas. What is it? Circus. That's the kids, where all the kids are.
I have not had many bad experiences with children on airplanes or restaurants.
Just jinx that.
Movie theaters really isn't the kids. It's the phone age Like teenagers and young 20-somethings should probably have their own theater where they can just distract each other with their phones out. That should be a separate place for those rude asses. And by the way, that is on my things. If I would, that would be on a job interview. One of the things I will ask is, have you ever brought out your phone in a movie theater? And if the answer is yes, you need a good reason, or we don't get to question number 2 in the interview, because it's an ass thing to do. And
what's a good reason?
Well, like
a loved one or something,
an emergency. Yeah. Like because you ultimately, like you're totally into a movie, right? You're totally you've let yourself go. You're there. You're what's on screen. If somebody brings out some bright light somewhere in the theater, it takes your eye away, and it takes you a minute to get. It's a rude fucking thing to do. Don't ever do it. It makes you a bad person. It just makes you a bad freaking person. And to number 2 from Matt, with NIL deals should come a buyout. I mean, businesses can do this. It's up to the businesses to do this. This is a private business thing. This is where there's a separation with the schools. The schools can't control that. These are deals between the athlete and the businesses, and the businesses absolutely have that right. If you transfer, if you're not here, we can backload this deal for your second deal. They can write it however they want, but it's going to happen within the businesses, and I do think you'll see more and more businesses protecting themselves and want their money's worth. But there will always be people just trying to get the athlete to that school and willing to pay for certain kids a ton up front.
Professor next. Number 1, Noah Kim will have more yards, completions, and wins and TDs than Peyton Thorne in 2023. Bonus. I'm officially out on movie theaters. Every movie should be available for home release right away. I'm willing to pay a premium of $30 a movie.
Would you'd rather watch at home for $30 and go to a theater?
It depends on the movie, because I do love going to Studio C in Okemos, because they serve you pretty much. You get food and all that stuff. It's nice.
I like
reclining chairs.
Yeah.
And, so we would, but I'm with them though. It should be a premium. Like you should be able to pay it $30 for a movie that's coming out if you want.
And I'm cool with that, the movie being fairly expensive, because one of the things is, I mean, I do want movie theaters to be around. That's one of the things I'm worried about. There's a movie theater.
Well, then you need to do the $30, or excuse me, you have to keep it off.
Yeah.
Any streaming service for a while.
Right.
To get people to want to go.
Or you have to have some sort of deal where, and I don't know where this would work, but you think outside the box where, so if you're paying, and the other problem with a $30 movie is if in your theater is it's, so say you take 4 people to a movie, you can have 4 people in your living room and it's still only one cost to the movie, where in a theater it would be more than that. But if you had $30 a movie and $10 of that went to some, national organization of theaters where that gets, you know what I mean? Where you're at least getting something to the theaters. I would be all for that, I think. I would enjoy that.
I don't know if that'd work, but I hear
Probably
you.
not.
PHBA next. Mel Tucker can short-circuit the recruiting transfer portal battle by pushing large NIL deals for linemen. A dominant line is key to a successful rebuild.
This is going to be our hot take of the day. So PHBA will get a gift card to either Front 43 and Caskin Company, Groovy Donuts, or Midtown Brewing Company here in downtown Lansing of their choice. Because I like this. I do think it's overstated on go get the receiver, go get the quarterback. If you're trying to build a program, you're trying to do it internally with linemen, and linemen are the least likely to transfer when they're happy. They commit the earliest. And if you really wanted to do something, I would put a lot of my focus. If you build a winning program in the trenches, and if you need NIL deals to do it, you're going to be fine. Quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, these are diva positions. There's only a few who get to be the stars. They want to go where they can play. And so, yeah, some of them will go where the money is, but there's a lot more of them. There's a lot of them out there. And the difference between one that you think is great and one that is going to wind up being great that maybe doesn't have the demands in the NIL world is probably not that significant if you've got the line up front. This would be, again, Michigan State, if they're going to ultimately compete with the big boys, Michigan State before has had great receivers and good quarterbacks and great running backs. That's not been a problem as much. But can you build up front? can you sustain something up there that allows you to punch somebody in the face? Look at what's happened to Ohio State with all the talent they have against Michigan. Why? Because Michigan can hit them in the face. If I were Michigan State, I would say the NIL money, if we're going to spend it in recruiting or we're going to promise it to freshmen to a certain deal, is going to go to the big dudes. And that's how we're going to build it up front on both sides of the ball. Now, defensive lineman is an area that's a really competitive in the recruiting world. But those two areas is where I would absolutely spend it. So good question there from PHBA, or good hot take.
Levi next. Number one, many listeners were clearly wrong about Max Christie leaving. He's playing meaningful minutes in the playoffs as a rookie. 2, many are also wrong about Peyton Thorne. He will help lead Auburn to a good season while MSU struggles. And 3, the renewed optimism around the Lions will start strong with a 4-2 start, but quickly fade. Another 8-9 season and missing the playoff. Wow, these are uplifting. Another 8-9 season and missing the playoffs. They fall into that middle ground purgatory you speak of and barely compete for a wild card spot in the next 3 years, winning nothing of significance.
It is depressing.
Like, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just like fucking lie to me or something, you know?
Levi, we don't want that kind of truth here. Yeah, no, I mean, you could see, I mean, that could be partly the one thing I think the Lions are in a spot and they understand, and a lot of it comes down to when they commit to Jared Goff. And they have to, at some point, they can't let themselves get in that purgatory if Goff can't take them beyond it. And they're going to have to figure that out. That's a big point. To your number one about Max Christie.
Was he getting meaningful minutes? I watched a couple Laker games.
Yeah, I mean, he's seen some time, and he's obviously on the roster, and things have gone well for him financially. He's stuck in the league, early second-round pick. I'm not saying that, but I do think he's a player who could have been a lottery pick if he'd come back and had a great sophomore year. And that might have changed the priority he would be moving forward. I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. I think it's still to be determined. I think he could have been a bigger priority to an NBA team based on where he was selected had he come back.
Kevin from Rochester Hills next. Number one, the Tigers only have 2 major league hitters on their team. 2, Javi Baez is Detroit's most consistent player at sucking. 3, Denny McCarthy shit the bed on the 18th hole and was a lock to lose in the playoff.
Javi Baez is and I watched Chris Castellani's video the other day about this. I mean, he hates him, but Javi Baez is frustrating as hell because, like, why is that worth $141 million over 3 years or whatever it is? You know, like, it's just that.
I don't know.
I don't get why that.
Well, the problem is, too, he makes some really dumb mistakes on the field, but then he'll come back and maybe hit a 2-run home run or something. So then you're like, oh, okay, I guess. But I would love to see some old school skippers like Tommy Lasorda deal with a guy like Javi Baez. I mean, I'm not saying Hinch does anything wrong. He does what he has to do to kind of keep everything even keel, but I guarantee he's got to be frustrated with Javi Baez.
He just swings it. He chases so much, and he swings it in big moments he doesn't come through. And he hasn't produced enough juice. Like, if there had been electric moments, you'd be able to deal with it. We just haven't had those,
He
right?
looks like you or I if they were like, here's a bat.
Yes.
go up and face Major League pitching. I would just swing it the first 3 pitches. I connect.
The one thing I don't, again, no salary cap, and his contract will expire before the Tigers are in a place where they're really trying to chase greatness, I think. And so, like, if he's in this Tigers purgatory and he's just if he's the Juan Gonzalez of this era,
wow,
so freaking be it. Just make sure you don't re-sign him. And the other thing is, I just wonder how many other teams would actually put him in their lineup. And I know there's some other bad teams and whatever, but, like, where does he go after? I mean, he's just so bad. His numbers
I'm sure he'll go somewhere and contribute, like every other former Detroit player that goes somewhere.
Yeah.
Bruce Brown. Bo McJunkins, KCP. Number one, if you're upset by companies changing their logo to support people who are different than you this month, take some time outside and get some fresh air. No one is forcing anything on you by changing a logo. 2, MSU still managed a 5-7 season with an astronomical amount of injuries. There is bound to be positive regression. Hammer the over 5.5. 3, MSU wide receiver room is unproven and young, but looks really talented. Add in an improved run game, and this offense could surprise.
Yeah, I think the offense, I mean, the thing is we just don't know is, are they going to be okay at quarterback? Like, you'd think between one of those guys, they'll figure it out. I think the skill positions will be fine. and the line, there's more depth there. Hammer the over 5.5. We went through this a few weeks ago. That wouldn't be based on my recommendation. Like the year that there was 4.5 and they won 10 games in the regular season, that even seemed obvious, not knowing what Kenneth Walker would be. That was way too low. This, if I had to choose an over under, I guess I'd probably go over. But
it's not a lock. Though.
It's not a lock, and you start
hammer
looking,
means lock, right?
Yeah, and you start looking at the back end of the schedule, and you can see a scenario where they're going into Ford Field at 5 wins and needing to beat a really good Penn State team.
That'd be a hell of a sweat, though. At Ford Field.
Yeah, but why not just bet them as an underdog on that day?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know that the 5.5 has a ton of value. If you're looking to if you've got the money to put on Michigan State over 5.5, I would buy a Muskox quality flannel instead. That will be there for you by the time Thanksgiving rolls around on that holiday weekend. Instead of sweating that out, you'll be in the comfort of a Muskox flannel. You can check out their spring and summer flannel collection as well, or buy dad a gift, or have your wife buy you a gift, or your kids buy you a gift, even if you've got to pay for it, because that's how Father's Day gifts work at a certain age. At gomuskox.com. And again, the promo code CAWCAW15 for $15 off flannels for Couch and the Rube listeners. We'll take a really quick break here. When we come back, more of your hot takes. Couch and the Rube, presented by Muskox high-quality flannels and Skyman Premium Cannabis.
Where else can you cheer on your team, enjoy a mouth-watering burger or savory sushi, sip on handcrafted cocktails, or one of 46 beers on tap? Take your game day or date night to Cask & Company Kitchen Bar or Front 43 Neighborhood Pub near Frandor. 2 amazing places with 1 awesome blended modern American Asian menu. Catch the game on one of 30 60-inch TVs or stop in for the all-you-can-eat lunch buffet. Enjoy happy hour or elevate your night out at Cask & Company or Front 43 on East Saginaw in Lansing. If you're looking forward to cool summer nights at the lake or backyard gatherings, make Muskox's spring and summer flannel collection part of your summer experience. Muskox's lighter weight 3 seasons flannel is perfect for warmer weather without sacrificing Muskox's noted softness or high quality. Plus, Muskox donates 10% of every $100 purchased to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center. Visit gomuskox.com to find the absolute best flannel for you and use our promo code CAWCAW15 for $15 off your flannel order. Trust us, you've never felt more comfortable than you will in a Muskox flannel.
Christmas is around the corner and beautiful jewelry is on her Christmas list. So where will you go to buy that gorgeous diamond ring or that sparkly diamond necklace or that incredible diamond bracelet? Meadowar Jewelers' 4 locations by the Lansing Mall by Meridian Mall in Jackson and in Portage have the largest selection and the latest designs of beautiful jewelry that she's been dreaming of. If an engagement ring is on your mind, come into Meadowar Jewelers and let our professional staff explain to you all about natural and lab-created diamonds. Our diamonds are set by master jewelers whose passion for their art shows so clearly in each and every piece. So, for that perfect gift that's on her Christmas list, come into Meadowars by the Lansing Mall by Meridian Mall in Jackson and in Portage, and we'll help you find it.
Firekeepers Online Casino and Sportsbook is the site to play. Get your Vegas on right now from your phone, tablet, or laptop. All the hottest slots and tables, plus sports betting featuring in-game wagering. Download the app at firekeeperscasino.com. Go with the name you know. Firekeepers. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 or older and located in Michigan. Gambling problem? Call the Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-270-7117.
Find Couch and the Rube podcasts on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and the Rube's favorite podcast addict.
Couch in the Rube, presented by Skyman Premium Cannabis, inspiring us to live better, look better, love better every damn day of your life. Skyman has new daily deals going on. Each day, a new type of offer. Go to skymint.com to check those out. You can also have those offers emailed directly to you, which is really cool. Join their point system as well. and live the life that we have in terms of them guiding on us on our cannabis journeys, including Jason, the Joe Ingles of weed over here. And, of course, our Monday afternoon show presented by our friends at Muskox. Go to gomuskox.com to check out their spring and summer flannel collections, including the Grand Flannel, the great 3 Seasons flannel, and use the promo code CAWCAW15 for $15 off that flannel. Back to your hot takes.
Mojo Jojo next. Number 1, Ishbia ending the NIL deal bodes poorly for MSU's recruiting. Not sure if we have a more visible alum willing and able to step up. 2, I'm willing to wait and see for this season, but we'll also tune out if we're headed to a 2022 redo. 3, folks recording on their phones at a concert is ass.
Where are you on folks and recording a concert? Because everybody's got their phones up these days.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't take away from my watching experience or at a concert, but I'm always wondering why you would do that.
It's not a live in the moment thing to do.
I mean, I take maybe 2 photos and then my phone is in my pocket. I will check it here and there or something if there's like a break in the action. But I mean, holding your phone up
sucks
for a whole concert, like what do you do with that video? And I've asked someone at a concert I went to because they were recording the whole time, and it comes to find out that they were recording for a sick person that was supposed to be at the show.
Geez. Well, if it's
so
that person,
yeah, right. I'm like, I had to find the one MFer in LCA that was doing it for a sick person. Like, shit, just my luck.
Yeah, that is a very...
I wasn't goofing. I just was like intrigued. I was like, well, what do you do with the video? Oh, it's for my sick friend who couldn't come. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, well, that's
touche.
The number 1 here, Ishbia ending the NIL deal bodes poorly for MSU recruiting. Not sure if they'll have a more visible alum willing to step up. This is an opportunity. Look, the women's basketball team, for example, when Ishbia didn't, and I thought this was a misstep by him, did not include them in the initial deal with UWM. They went and got their own thing through Michigan State Employees Credit, or not Employees Credit Union, the MSUFCU, I should say. And there are other businesses that may want every player tweeting about them. There are places that may look at this and go, hey, this could actually help us. People don't even know about us this much. Or this is there are other companies that could use this space if they have the capital to spend this sort of money. And maybe it's done a little more sport by sport.
Do you get a return on your investment, though?
Well, that's the question. Yeah, and maybe some would find it and others wouldn't, or maybe it's different than just having them tweet out. Maybe there's a different type of thing that's needed, and
these guys didn't become millionaire, billionaire dudes by being stupid, right?
So if you're at, you could be up, and this is me not having the same business sense, but if you're at a place where you could have a deal where every MSU football player and basketball player had to each of them once, beyond tweeting out, come in and do an autograph signing at your location or in your thing, whatever it was, every season or every year.
How much is that?
I'm just saying it would be the same deal. Like if you were doing a deal where if the player wanted this $700 a month one time, and if you have between football and men's basketball, if you've got 100 scholarship guys, you're going to have every Saturday you could have 2 dudes or 3 dudes at your place, every week, and it becomes a thing where people, I don't know,
for $700 a month.
I
got to go to your store now, shit, for $700.
Well, the $700 adds up, I think.
Well, yeah, I would take it. I'm saying if you're an athlete,
you only have to do it once.
You're signing autographs, right?
I'm just saying. There are lots of ways you can do it besides them just tweeting out, "Hey, I love you. I love mortgages." Fuck you do, I don't know. That's
or charge for autographs and split it with the player or something. I could maybe see that.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Couch Ruben 69 next. Number 1, Sky Mint plus Chris Farley and Adam Sandler and SNL skits equals pure happiness. 2, Xavier Booker and Jeremy Fears getting onto campus is already beginning the excitement for hoop season to start. Going to be a long wait, especially if Mel and the boys have another disappointing season.
The beauty of the way college basketball goes, though, is by the time you realize that things suck for MSU football, if they do, you're only a month away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's 4 home games, and say they start out like 2-2, and you're like, oh, God, this is not going to be the MSU football season I want. At that point, you're a month away, and you can get there, and maybe the Lions will help you get it's not going to be that long a take, and I think or that long a wait. And so Yeah, Skymint, Chris Farley, and Adam Sandler SNL skits. Pure happiness.
You almost don't need Skymint for it.
Right.
For those videos.
But Skymint maybe should do something with, obviously they can't, but promote, actually, we'll fix this in post because that would actually probably be all sorts of lawsuits waiting to happen if they promoted Chris Farley without his estate's permission.
Jeff Peterson next. Number 1, the question about pegging had me doing a spit take in my bowl of Cheerios. How about each week a listener provides a new word that Jason gets to pose to Graham? Appointment listening for sure.
I like it.
2, the podcast these past few weeks reinforces the fact that the new Jason is much better than the original Jason in terms of the overall quality of the podcast. Last week's listener questions reinforce that for me. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. 3, Graham's waxing poetically about urinating in troughs was a cringeworthy as his takes about coaching his friend's kid's soccer team. Maybe more so.
Oh, thank you. I guess I topped that one.
Yeah, it's debatable. I still think that you wanting to, the nostalgia around peeing in a trough is weird.
But it's
coaching
understandable.
A 6-year-old soccer team without a kid on the team is, I don't know.
Well, I was the assistant coach, though. I mean, and I'd asked my friend's kid was on the team, and I was there, and I'm like,
oh well then,
known her since birth. I mean, it is a little weird that I'm curious about how some of these players are developing later on. Like, there are a couple. Eliza was incredible. Like, what is she as an 8-year-old now? She must be dominating out there. There are things I do wonder when she gets to high school. If you see me at some Grand Ledge girls soccer games, don't be surprised. Seeing where things have how things have gone. That is weird. Maybe we fix that. Fix that. And,
we'll leave that in.
Fix that in post. Yeah. I do like this idea though. The idea that a listener provides a new word that you get to pose to me that
like a sexual term,
or just a term that I don't know, and we figure out. The problem is if I see them, like it would have to go.
You saw the pegging one.
And I didn't know. Right. But that's the problem. Is a lot of times I'll know, so it doesn't work. I don't know how we'd make this work.
Now, my friend Jordan, he had a theory that you were faking it. And I was like,
no.
Right. Are you 100% truth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, man, he's a really good actor then if he didn't know. But if you saw that, if you put in pegging.
There are lots of things that the common person knows that I don't. And so this
right.
could work.
And it's not, to be honest, you shouldn't be sad about not knowing what pegging was or embarrassed.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I think it's not a bad thing to not know what pegging is.
I would, if somebody had an idea for how we could make that segment work, I mean, the stuff would have to go straight.
Basically, if you guys could do the segment for us, if that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
And thanks for the nice compliments, Jeff. Appreciate you. Dark Mantonio next. Number 1, in all your inane ramblings about restaurant bills, you never answered Matt's question about where MSU's basketball season would end.
That sounds like us, yeah.
2, Oregon football was supposed to be the Clemson before Clemson was Clemson. 3, sorry, Graham, but Jackson Kohler over Carson Cooper.
Couple things here. One, you don't have to apologize to me. In fact, I enjoy watching Jackson Kohler play probably more than Carson Cooper, just from a basketball enjoyment standpoint, because of his style of game. They call him, Baby Jokic, and I mean there's a reason for that. He's an incredibly fun offensive player to watch. The question is whether he can do it at the Big Ten level and defend well enough there to be a really good player. I hope it happens for him. I would love Jackson Kohler's career to take off because I would enjoy the heck out of watching it. I think he's a nice kid. Same for Carson Cooper, and those two could be. I mean, I think those two can absolutely coexist in a program. It'll be interesting with Xavier Booker how that all works, but you can see a scenario where Kohler and Cooper and Xavier Booker at the 4 and 5, are really good as a trio for Michigan State for a couple years. To the question that I apparently didn't ask some Matt's about where Michigan State football season would end next year, I think the over-under line is right about right. I mean, if I had to guess, they'll be at 5 or 6 wins going into that Penn State game. The thing that, if I'm wrong and if things are better than we anticipate, it's because there are a lot of questions, and the thing is sometimes questions are answered positively and sometimes negatively, and if they're answered positively in terms of the quarterback position, some of the young and intriguing wideouts, and I do think they have some good talent there, and they're better up front, and some things. If things come together, there's just a lot we don't know, and so it's a hard thing to guess. I just don't feel great about the over-under as at least as much as I did a couple years ago.
Jarrett next, number 1. Georgia football will win 3 more championships within the next 4 years. 2, Brock Bowers will be a better tight end than Gronk in the NFL. And 3, the Big Ten will adapt similar transfer rules with conference teams like the SEC schools have now in the next few years.
What am I missing on their transfer rules? Is it you can transfer within the conference there, can't you? Or you can't. The Big Ten used to have that. I don't think the Big Ten is going to get stricter if that's where this is, and I could be totally reading that wrong. Georgia football win 3 more championships in the next 4 years. Could happen. This is their window. This is their time. Kirby Smart's young enough too, and Georgia's got all sorts of advantages. They could
Bama's going to reload, right?
Yeah, but Saban's in his 70s, so there is a point where Bama is no longer the sure thing, like they weren't before Saban, and I think that's something to remember. You already see Clemson.
Yeah, he's in his 70s, but he has that thing working to perfection, right? You just plug in guys.
Does Bama post Saban still have that? If he's only got 3 years left, what is Bama post Saban? I don't know.
That's true. I don't know. Nestle's Quick Hotel next. Number 1, I think you should leave. Season 3 is solid, but not as funny as season 2. 2, I wish all the best for Chad Latz, but it might be time to mute. Understandable. 3, 6-6 would have been fine for MSU football before they pissed off the entire fan base with the help of Peacock and NBC.
Do you think
Peacock?
Yeah, I mean, I do think there's when you're trying to get people to enjoy a season and you're not going to be great, you want everything else to be going well for you. And there are people who are unhappy with the fact that they're going to be at Ford Field instead of Spartan Stadium, which is understandable. There are people who are unhappy that the season is totally front-loaded. Like, you got to go to Spartan Stadium 4 straight weeks to start and then they're home once in October and once in November now, not counting the game in Detroit. Now, other people would say, that's when the weather's great. I love it. I mean, 4 in a row is a lot. Like, I talked to my mom about this. She'll be like, it'd be nice not to have a home game one Saturday, you know? Like, I mean, I think that does kind of suck.
I just feel you can't make everyone happy no matter what.
You can't.
Said, right?
You can't.
4 home games. Oh man, I wish there was a gap in between.
But when you're trying to soften the potential of 6-6, yeah, you know, then it helps to have everything else go your way. I think you should leave. I don't know. I don't know what this is. Do you know this show?
No.
Let me.
You don't know. How would I know?
I didn't know what's the Queen Latifah show. I didn't even think that was a real
Equalizer.
thing.
You're such a liar.
I didn't know. I did not.
That's bullshit.
Oh, good cast. Maybe have I seen this?
Who's in it?
I think you should leave with Tim Robinson. Tim Robinson, Sam Richardson, who was in Veep, and Connor Malley. I've seen him. Brianna Baker. I've seen some of these people. Yeah, American Sketch Comedy Series. I actually should check this out.
I'll trust you on that. Shep next. Following up last week's mustache question and your limp-wristed excuses, you two need to make some kind of a bet this football and basketball season, and the loser has to rock a mustache for 30 consecutive calendar days. 2-week pre-growing time required.
This is actually a decent bet idea, more than a tattoo or
it would take more than 2 weeks for me, though.
Well, that's what would be funny about it is we can't actually grow one very well. We'd look like ass.
But I've tried with no bet, so I would be down. It doesn't really.
When is the last time you tried to grow a mustache and you've
recently, last month, I tried, and it was just so pathetic. I just shaved it all off. I tried. I just shaved around and then left the mustache there, and then
I do remember.
I let it grow and grow. It just doesn't look. My facial hair is complete ass, and I can't do it.
So who tells you it's pathetic? Is that
me?
Therese, or you just notice it?
No, I ask her, right, because she has to look at my ugly fat head.
Yeah,
so I'm like, I thought she was anti-mustache, but then she's like, oh, I don't care. So I was like, oh, well, let me try. So yeah, it's definitely if she was anti-mustache, I would be. It doesn't really matter to me because I can't grow facial hair like an adult. So
yeah, my mustache does not look great, and yeah, and the problem is my beard and face are a little bit red.
Oh, I thought you meant round.
Well, that too.
Round and red.
Multiple chins. And if it made me look thinner or something, if it made me look better, I'd be all for it. But it just looks like I have shit on my upper lip, you know? And it's not great.
Well,
it's not a good look.
I do enjoy letting my beard grow out when the winter months when you gain a couple lbs and it kind of hides it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it just looks terrible.
That is not a story we're telling, but it is presented by Midtown Brewing Company, by the way, in downtown Lansing, which Midtown Brewing Company, which has trivia on Tuesday nights now, great place for a date night or a weekend brunch, did a cool thing this weekend where they had one day closed to honor their employees and do something cool for them. and it looks like a great place to work, and I love that they put them first all the time, and just one of the places I'm proud to have supporting us.
Fart Soup next. Number 1, Graham's walk-up music in baseball would be Woman in Love by Barbra Streisand or anything from Yentl.
Possibly.
2, Jason telling Graham to Google guy getting pegged was the best thing to happen last week.
Yeah.
See, now, I don't know about this one anymore because you did see it was Hans, and you know Hans that likes those kind of tweets, those questions. You really didn't know.
I didn't know.
You put it in there.
I didn't know what it was. Yeah, I did. I mean, as I put it in there, I realized quickly.
Either way, it was great.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
Neurotic Pants. Number 1, any filmmaker who ends a feature-length film with no resolution and instead with the words "to be continued" should be horsewhipped till their ass cheeks are scarred.
Jeez.
Wow. 2.
What movie was that, by the way?
I don't know. 2. MSU will beat CMU 38-17. The first 2 or 3 quarters will be tough until the chips are worn down at the line of scrimmage.
Boy, that's the one thing Mel Tucker can't have is somehow losing the CMU game, because we've seen how. I mean, look, Mark D'Antonio lost the CMU game in 2009, and it wound up being a frustrating year to some degree. But that was just before the beginning of the program taking off. But you've also got the Perlish years where they lost it in 91 and 92, and that was the beginning of the end. You can't lose the CMU. Just the amount of harassment you'll take and is how awful it will be. By the way, this filmmaker thing, this is what Fantasia was. People like Fantasia. Fantasia is a feature-length film with no resolution and no plot. It's just fucking awful. Anyway.
Nick Palmer next. Number 1, with the Pistons hiring Monty Williams, cue the famous quote from The Wire. We back up. 2, Brett Bielema is a big dude. Has he gotten bigger? 3, the Twitter question from Matt Buckaloo, a.k.a. plus-size softball dad, about going to the United Nations regarding JV softball had me laughing all afternoon. Appreciate you.
I appreciate Matt with the humor as well.
It's weird knowing their names now, though.
Well, Matt
softball dad.
Matt's was in his Twitter handle, like the plus-size softball dad is like the I don't know how to describe it.
I got you.
I do like the idea that people feel that way about the Pistons now. Like there's a little bit more. It feels like they got something going. Like they made the right hire. They made an intriguing hire.
But how else are you supposed to feel, though? It's a rebuild, and they paid a coach.
Cade Cunningham was hurt all last year. The new coach, Cade healthy. They'll have the 5th pick in the draft. Yeah. Everybody's a year old. I think they'll be an intriguing team next year. I've thought that the last 2 years, and sometimes it's been right.
All right, plus-size softball dad with just one here. Oklahoma is ruining college softball. Everyone is playing to see who is runner-up.
They do seem rather dominant. That's for sure. But
again, like college football.
Well, the thing is, there's no pro league to go to. Like if you're the coach at Oklahoma, there's nowhere you're ever going to go. Like this is the pinnacle of your coaching career. There are pro leagues, but it's not like it pays more. It's a bigger job, and you're in a climate that's better than the northern schools. Like that's what's so hard about being at some place like Michigan State is, half the season your field's underwater, the other half it's frozen, and you don't have a single home game after the month of April. Like how are you supposed to build a program? And I'll be impressed, if they're able to.
Matt C. next. Number 1, summer sucks. It's just dead time before football starts. 2, Graham doubting Cohen Carr, but thinking Zach Edey has a future in the NBA is comical.
I'm not doubting Cohen Carr. I'm doubting his.
You forget to mention his name when you talk about the team, though, sometimes. We'll say that.
I'm doubting his 100% readiness to be a big-time contributor based on dunks. Like, take Cohen Carr's dunks out of things, and that's hard for people. But take it out, because I don't think his dunks are what is going to earn him playing time next year. It'll make him exciting at times.
Well, there goes the mixtapes if you take out the dunks.
I'm just saying, like
short.
Like view just like what he is a defender and rebounder and athlete as a freshman, and how
bad could he be at shooting? I've seen a couple jumpers.
I'm just
short
saying,
jumpers. I mean, he does play basketball.
Okay, if Doug Anderson, but say he had been an MSU commit. Based on the videos, people would think the same thing about him, and he wasn't even a high major player. I'm just saying we don't know what Cohen Carr will be as a true freshman. That's all I'm saying. I hope the kid is
but
incredible.
Doug Anderson, you had to find a reel-to-reel tape to find him. I mean, Cohen Carr, you get a whole sense of what he's doing.
Just saying,
stop comparing him to Doug Anderson. I mean,
dunking,
no offense.
Dunking isn't everything. Is all I'm saying.
Is.
All I'm saying.
The way he dunks, it is.
Okay.
Tyrone Couch, number 1. NIL should have national limits. set prices for autographs, tweets, commercials. If it's not approved, it is a violation. Also, a limit of 500K or so to keep amateur status. It would be to help with the bags. No, it actually wouldn't. That's my first Tyrone Stout mention, I think. 2, daughters are way better than sons. 100% of mine are. That's proof. Unless she grows up to make porn, then I have the right to change that stance. And 3, avocados are mediocre.
They are not. Avocados are incredible. You're a big avocado guy, right?
No, Treese. Treese mainlines avocados.
That's the best.
Yeah, she loves that stuff.
No, I'm a huge guacamole. Man, oh my God, so good.
Oh my God, chips.
Last night I was at a buddy's watching the finals, and he made homemade pizza for us, and he makes these incredible pizza, barbecue chicken pizza, all sorts of different pizzas.
Matt Carini?
It was not, but Cliff is his name. He used to be known as, and still might, Cliff the Leasing Man was known on, like, if you would go back to like 2005 and you were looking for an apartment, he would be Cliff the Leasing Man. Good dude. Played a lot of basketball.
So does he have like a brick oven, or is it one of those? We have one of those things that goes on the grill, like a pizza oven.
Yeah, he has an outdoor grill, a whole outdoor setup with a lot of fancy stuff, and it was amazing. But I started realizing last night that if like you wanted to kill me,
all right,
you could just feed me pizza after pizza. Like I wouldn't stop eating pizza. Like the pizza has to run out before I'm going to stop eating it. Like there's no.
Or Elizabeth gets to you.
Yeah, I mean,
Graham, you're embarrassing me.
Yeah, it's that is a story almost worth telling. By the way, by Midtown Brewing Company, which is an incredible menu and great beer selection. Go to midtownbrewing.net to check it out. Great place for a date night, by the way, if you want to impress. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing. Oh, and also to the NIL limits thing from Tyrone Couch. The problem with that again is these have to be completely separate. This can't be controlled by the schools or NCAA, and they can't even know exactly how. I mean, I do not think you're going to go to law with a national database. I think this stuff's going to remain mostly separate, and I don't think you're going to be able to have those guardrails.
Do you know who Riley Reid is?
I don't.
She's a porn star, and there's a lot of like videos and stuff like about her, and like,
glad you didn't have me Google Riley
on
Reid.
Twitter. Yeah, don't do that. But I'm saying on Twitter, like you see it through Twitter and social media. These porn stars are doing that, and she was complaining in a video the other day about how her dad doesn't talk to her, and it's just kind of like, and she was shocked by it. It's kind of like, I mean, it's sad. I'm sorry for you, but you have to kind of understand, right?
You've made
some
a career
of the videos
choice.
you see, and I can't go on Twitter now because I don't want to see my daughter. But
there's some consequences of that career.
But
choice.
we're really dumbfounded that your parents don't?
Yeah.
I don't know. Spartan 18770 with 3 of these, all 3. Fuck Mondays, and that's from his desk at work.
Yeah, Mondays if you got to be back at work after a great weekend, especially in the summer. I
Does
feel
Spartan like hate 60 minutes then the clock? Because remember when we were younger, when you hear that, you're like, oh shit, it's really over the weekend.
No, it was. I hated the tease for 60 minutes during the second NFL football game. So it was the
Murder She Wrote
4 o'clock game. It was 60 minutes. Murder She Wrote. Walker Texas Ranger, whatever it was. It was always like, oh man, it's not over yet. Don't tease the Sunday night program. Nobody cares. We're watching football. It's still the afternoon. The weekend isn't close to. It was such a depressing moment.
Coming up tomorrow, school that you're gonna hate. Cucker Tarleson, slap league pay structure. They go to the same model as the UFC and other fighting organizations. X to show, X to win. In a piece of shit Dana White's Power Slap League, it's 2K to show, 2K to win for a vast majority of the strikers. No, they do not pay for health expenses. They're contractors.
So you get $2,000 to show, $2,000 to win. That's not enough. It's not enough.
There's you can make that somewhere. I know that Dana White's notoriously cheap. I mean, I just don't know why people would want to do that. Are you that desperate to be famous? I mean, do you get famous from that? Are people watching it? What's the ratings?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Hans Jurgen next. Number 1, I once ate an ice cream drumstick to get an erection. I like not reading these. 2, ha ha ha, I fooled Graham into leaving in my pegged question. And 3, screw you, Couch. I ate a bagel on National Donut Day.
Yeah, a lot of extra calories in those bagels. I'm telling you, donuts, the way to go. Even if I don't say bagel correctly. Did I say bagel? Is this
bagel?
I say
bagel.
The way
you say Vegas, Vegas or something like that.
It was bagel is what we were complaining about.
Vegas.
Bagel. I don't know, maybe I've changed. Yeah.
Maybe I've changed. I doubt it. Jerk guy to end this. Number 1, Spartan fans need to chill out, man. 2, is O going to get his third natty in the next 3 years and name an heir apparent? And 3, no matter what Jason proclaims, there is no difference between prison and jail, just semantics.
I would say there is a difference.
Sounds
right?
like a guy that has been to neither.
Yeah.
There is.
Although you've never been to prison, you say.
No.
So you don't
that's
know.
felony stat.
Yeah.
I do. I've watched shows. I've got to listen, man. I did 72 hard, long days.
Yeah.
I kind of know.
Yeah, no.
Just kidding.
You've done harder time than me.
Both are ass.
Forever. Yeah, I wouldn't. And we're grateful for your presence, and it's provided much entertainment and joy here. We're also grateful to you, for the listener, for producing our show all the time and your hot takes. We're grateful to Muskox and Muskox Quality Flannels. Great Father's Day gift. Great options for the spring and summer. Go to gomuskox.com to check out their spring and summer line. Grateful to Skymint, which makes every day more tolerable and better and gets us through the shit. We appreciate Midtown Brewing Company. Awesome date place. Great for a drink after work. Trivia Tuesdays, Tuesday nights at Midtown Brewing Company. Go to midtownbrewing.net to learn more and check out their outstanding menu. We are off the rest of the week. We'll be back probably late weekend, Sunday, Monday. We'll figure that out. We appreciate you. Good show, man.
Yeah, man.
Couch in the Roof.